This is KJ and Lyons. KJ Carson and Jon Lyons right now on WEEI.
Second hour of KJ and Lyons on WEEI. The show is so entertaining, you only get it once a week. 617-779-7937. Text line 37937 if you've missed any of the show. Remember, the Odyssey app is free. Just type in WEEI. It plays it for you chapter by chapter. We've really gotten into some good conversation about the Patriots, John. We had Tommy I put an E in Tom's name because it's so used to it, but Tommy Freeze Pops, which is different than Tom E. Curran. So we had a conversation with him about Alex Van Pelt and what was going on with Drake May. We've had a great conversation about offensive line and so forth. So if you missed any of it, you can just hit the rewind button. 617-779-7937. Let's go to Sorja in Mansfield. Sorja, thanks so much for calling KJ and Lyons. Good morning to you.
KJ and Lyons, how you guys doing on this fine Sunday morning?
Oh, fine as you, sir.
A couple of quick points here on the Patriots. So I think this team is either going to be 3-14 and 4-13. Now, saying that, I think that's fine because I think we just have to, tamper our expectations. Just seeing that last season's product still hasn't really set in. And for me, it's if you get a top 5 draft pick next year, you're going to be drafting at the top of the draft, right? Bring in a good lineman or whatever. But we have to kind of be realistic, right? Only Kyle Duggar, out of all the positions, right? Pro Football Focus, they ranked all positions of top 10. Only Kyle Duggar was top 10. You have a rookie head coach. You have a rookie quarterback. I think we just have to be realistic, and if they do well, great, and if not, it kind of is what it is. You guys have a good one.
Thanks, man. John.
Yeah, I would agree pretty much 100% with what Sorja just said. I mean, I do think they're going to be better than last year, mostly because their quarterback play was just so bad last year that you really can only go up from there. But we got to be
offensive play calling.
We got to have an important distinction here, KJ. Better does not equate to great, right? Better to me, I think they're going to win 6 games, maybe 7, but probably 6. So that's better than last year.
The over/under is 4.5.
Right. So I think they're going to get the over. They're going to win 6. So that's better than last year, but still, 6 wins is not good, right? So,
right.
I think they're going to be better. And to Sorja's point, if you have faith in Elliott Wolf, and I guess we'll see some this year, does Drake May look good? Does Jalen Polk look good, right? If you have faith in him, if you win 6 games, that's probably the 8th or 9th overall pick. That might be the best offensive tackle on the board, maybe the second best, but you're going to get one of those top 2 or 3 offensive tackles potentially on the board to kind of add to this core. And I think so much of what they've done this offseason, KJ, and this year, it's not about 2024. It's about 2025 and then 2026. And I think that's the way they've looked at things since January. And I think, again, to Sorja's point, if fans look at it that way and say, hey, can we develop something here that we can head into next offseason feeling good about, try to make the playoffs in 2025, I think that's what the team's goal is. And I think that's kind of what our expectations should be.
I think it's tough for the fan base here in New England because for 25 years, let's call it give or take 25 years, all of your friends around the country have had to say something. Oh, you did this. Oh, you cheat. Or I would do this and other. And so now there's a consistency. And give this team a lot of credit. That first year with Mac Jones, they did get to the playoffs. So at least staved off the immediacy of, oh, you guys suck. Now your friends across the country, you can't tell me that the Patriots are the worst team in the NFL. I think that's going to be probably 2 teams out of the NFC South. I think those 2 teams out of that division might be worse than the Patriots are this year. Now, 4-13, I don't see that happening again. 5-12, sure. 6-11, I would say, okay, good progress. 7-10 would be an over. You know what I mean? I think they would be over their skis if they got to 7-10 and 7-10. But I think 7-10 might be something where a luck of a bounce put the defense in one game. You do see some rookie quarterbacks. I know Caleb Williams looked great in his preseason game yesterday, but that's a preseason game. If you said, hey, would you take Caleb Williams against the Patriots defense or the Patriots defense over Caleb Williams? I'd say give me the Patriots defense just to figure some things out to confuse him, knowing that if you can keep that game close, one mistake can give you a win in a situation where people don't think you could win. So I think there's still some room for that where maybe the defense or special teams play can win the team a game or two and maybe get them to 7 wins. Anybody's talking anything over 7 needs to be drug tested on Monday.
And when we talk about getting to 6 wins, right? Again, if you look at, and I know the schedule is a little harder this year, it is, but think about how bad their quarterback play was last year, KJ. Think about how bad their offense was last year. They lost a bunch of one-possession games.
Right.
Like, even if you win, again, a couple of those, you're at 5 or 6 wins this year, right? Like, that's all I'm saying. Like,
we're seeing that over the last couple of seasons.
Think about, like, last year when they lost to the Giants 10-7 and Mac threw 3 picks in the first half. They missed a field goal to tie it at the end of the game. They lost 6-0 to the Chargers at home.
That was that Indianapolis game. Yep.
The Colts game. That's the Washington game where Rager drops a deep touchdown pass. Smith-Schuster drops like, I could go on and on. The Buffalo game where they lost by 6 despite turning it over 4 times in the
Cole
first.
Strange recovered fumble.
Yeah, like all the and look, I'm not sitting here telling you, they should have won 9 games. But what I'm saying is
better decision
is that if you look at this team and say, I think they're capable of winning 4 or so games, and even if they just win a couple of those types of games they would have lost, like even if they lose a bunch of one-possession games but win 1 or 2, then you're at 6 wins. Like that's where I look at getting to 6 wins, and I think it's important to remember this year's about progress. If we come to the end of this year and you and I do a show in January, probably on a Sunday morning, maybe a Saturday.
No, I don't know. You don't know how schedules work on the station. We won't be here on Sunday mornings.
Maybe they'll put us at 6 a.m. or something.
We'll work twice a month.
You and I do a show in January, and we can sit there and say, hey, you know what? Drake May played a little bit, and he looks like he could be the future. Alex Van Pelt settled in. This defense was still pretty good. Their special teams got better. Like, that's really what we want to walk away from this season talking about. It's not going to be like the Houston Texans winning 10 games with Stroud and getting to the second round of the playoffs. I mean, hey, that would be awesome. It would shock me if that's what had actually happened. I think you need to walk away from this season looking at, hey, we have a real core here. We have a franchise QB. We can take a step towards the playoffs and make the playoffs next year. That's what this season's expectation should be about.
Well, and sometimes I think fans have quarterback envy and don't look at the bigger picture of it, right? C.J. Stroud benefits by being in the AFC South last year, right? Sure. Everybody thought that was Jacksonville's to run away with, and Tennessee was clearly bad, and Indy was riddled with injuries, and they were okay. You remember it came down to that final game, like whoever won it was going to win the division, but not necessarily go to the playoffs. So that kind of tells you how bad the division was. And then when you get into playoffs, anything can happen, right? That was what you held on to with Belichick for. You're like, hey, if you just get this team to the playoffs, you feel like Belichick can at least win you 1 game, and anything can happen in the playoffs. So you're absolutely right. If people tell themselves in the mirror, this is a rebuild, and I won't see the rookie quarterback right away, it will temper down your expectations. If you're like, I just want hardcore 2010 all over again, that's not going to happen, and it may not happen for a couple of years. All right, 37937 before we get to what's trending. What do you got, Jacob, on the text line?
So I have 2 texts here. First off, what 6 games do they win?
Yeah. What, 6 out of 17?
No, but I mean, look, I get it, but I mean,
because you could ask the same thing with Cincinnati last year, right?
Sure.
If you pencil the start of the season, you pencil Cincinnati, you're like, oh man, this is a 12-win season. What happens? Injury.
Yeah, and like they go to Tennessee, they go to Chicago, the Colts, Arizona, like those are all winnable games. Like that's 4 right there.
Maybe a winnable game over in London.
And again, like you beat Arizona.
The Rams could be a competitive game, and they may win that one.
Like if you beat Arizona, the Colts will see if they're banged up. Tennessee, like you win those games, and then you win a couple more, so like that. That's 6. Again, it's 6, like out of 17. We're not
asking. We're not trying to get to 10.
Yeah, like it's 6 out of 17.
Because here's the thing. There's a good chance they will lose 6 games in the AFC East.
Yeah, at least 5. But let's say you win one of those AFC. Let's just say either the Dolphins or the Jets. You beat one of those teams. Okay, so there's a win, right? Like now you only need 5 more. Right?
No, how about this? Let's say they lose all 6 of those. There's still 11 games to choose from. So you're still saying you can lose every game in your division, and there's a chance they may still go 6-5 in those other games.
Exactly. Right. So that's and all we're talking about 6 out of 17.
Right.
Like that's all we're
talking about. Still lose every game in their division.
Exactly. And then it's still 6 out of 11.
Right. Which 6 games? Show your work, KJ. One more text and then we'll get to trending.
All right, if May winds up turning out to be an okay quarterback by the end of the year, I'll definitely text in and say I was wrong, but I think Milton is the future. And also, there's a bonus text here. Love listening to you guys every Sunday. You are basically the only show that reads the text line, and that's the only way I like to communicate. Keep killing it, y'all.
Thank you. See,
Very kind. Thank you.
That's the thing. You have to understand how to take the old school and the new school and mix them together, right? That's why we could talk about video games on this show.
Yes.
We could talk about. You see what I'm saying? It's not like just I remember when Scott Zolak was the quarterback. You don't get a whole lot of that here, but you can get a mix of that. You have history, and you also have old school and new school, like the breakdancing competition in the Olympics.
And I think, can I just say something to the texter's point about obviously how great we are, but to Joe Milton, like, I think if you walk away from the season, we've been talking about May, but if you also walk away saying, hey, Joe Milton is our long-term backup QB, and you can have two guys in May and Milton, and that's kind of your quarterback, 1 and 2 for 4 or 5 years, you can feel really good about that too, because you notice a lot of the guys they signed this offseason, KJ, multi-year deals, except Jacoby Brissett, right? So I think their goal is to walk away from this season saying May is the future starter, and if Milton can be the long-term backup, then I think you're in pretty good shape there. But that's what, when you and I do a show in January, hopefully that's what we're talking about.
It'll be one of 2 Saturdays. Make sure you catch it. No
yes.
kidding.
And hopefully the Red Sox signed a starting pitcher then too. Hopefully we'll have a good show in January with a Red Sox signed a frontline starting pitcher, and the Patriots have their quarterback of the future all set.
Mike and Ken might be like, how do we get rid of KJ's ass this week? What is he saying? I'll say this quick, and then we'll go to trending. It's different now. Remember, we used to no one in college basketball a 16 would never beat a 1 seed. Now it's a lot more regular than it was an obsolete thing. Same thing in the NFL. There's no way some 6th round, 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant become a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's now a thing. And I think and this is where I'm going to give kudos to the texter, is what if just the same way that Mr. Irrelevant can become a quarterback in the NFL, that Joe Milton can be able to get better coaching? Because keep in mind, Tennessee is not exactly where you go to the quarterback, because if Peyton Manning doesn't want anybody to steal his shine and his history there. That's why you don't see quarterbacks coming out of Tennessee. But he gets the right coaching, he gets around the right guy. What happens if he pops? Or what if he pops somewhere else? Doesn't that make it feel a little bit? Wouldn't it make it feel a little bit worse?
Yeah, the one that got away. Feel a little bit worse.
That would be the worst feeling. That would be the worst. And I think that's inside of some people right now. It's like, what if Joe Milton does end up becoming an NFL quarterback somewhere else and performs well, and we're still sitting here in New England figuring it out? Who do you yell at then? A cloud?
Yeah, KJ, Mac Jones is going to take Trevor Lawrence's job, and we're all going to cry about it.
No, but he's going to take Beathard's job the way he played last night.
He might, yeah.
It's KJ and Lyons, WEEI, 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. We talk about Tatum, the Olympics next, but right now it's time to trend with Jacob Lassner.